Good morning or afternoon, folks. It is time once again for the Global Online Ministry Alliance. Sorry I'm a little late, just scrambling to get some things done. Had a big trip planned and there are some things that may have been changed about that. Thank you, coronavirus. And the other thing too is that I actually had something else in mind that I wanted to talk about this morning, but I'm going to change directions because of some things that have happened in the last 24 hours, some things that have been said in the last 24 hours, and I feel compelled to address them. So that being said, the Global Online Ministry Alliance is a group of fantastic teachers, starting off on Sunday mornings with Lynn Bennett Jr., followed by Kyle Butler, followed by Dr. Catherine Toon, and followed by yours truly. And on Wednesdays, we have Grounds and Grace with Mike Zinker. And then on Thursdays, we have Keith Giles with More Grounds and More Grace. And also part of the Three-Chord Strand, which Three-Chord Strand starts off on Mondays with Bill Thrasher, on Tuesdays with Michelle Brown and Tammy Wilson with Table Talk, on Wednesdays with Catherine Toon again, on Thursdays with Kyle Butler, and Phreology Friday with yours truly. And Mike Zinker also floats in and out on Three-Chord, and so he's a blessing. And that being said, let me go ahead and no music, no frills, and I decided to borrow my wife's set this morning. She's out getting donuts. Anyway, I want to ask or start off by asking a question. How far is too far? How far is too far? And the reason why I'm asking that question is because, excuse me, people have been telling me basically, I mean, over the last 24 hours, it has really come to a head. And they say, well, Derek, you've just gone too far. You've gone too far. Your teaching has gone too far. You've taken, you're lumping all Christians into a group and this, that, and the other, and all kinds of stuff, man. It's just been an epic shitstorm. And so I feel compelled to address this. Now, mind you, let me say this. I generally don't address my critics. I honestly don't care, because while they're criticizing me, I'm living my best life. I'm enjoying things that they probably only dream of. And I'm not saying that to boast, but I'm saying that I'm blessed, right? And the blessing comes not because the great sky God decides to bless me, because the Creator is no respecter of persons. However, what I've developed is an understanding of love, and I have an understanding of confidence, and that confidence has opened doors continuously and repeatedly for me. Okay, so that being said, normally I don't address critics, but I'm going to address some things today because, well, frankly, I'm just tired of the bullshit. and it's this, right? How far is too far? Well, let's ask a question. The people who sail their ships beyond the shores of Europe, at what point did they go too far? You know, and the people who discovered bacteria, did they go too far? Did Sir Isaac Newton go too far? Did Copernicus go too far? Did Galileo go too far? Did Socrates, Aristotle, Plato, did they go too far? Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., did he go too far? Nikola Tesla, did he go too far? In other words, how far is too far? And this is the point that I'm getting at. And I can't overstress this. That if you look at all of the major fields of study, in terms of at least us Westerners, you have things like medicine and physics and biology and chemistry and psychology, linguistics. You have astronomy, astrology. You have all of these different things. And watch this. Every one of these fields of study has moved over time. I mean, it's like astronomy is nothing new. People have been studying the stars since man walked the earth. But now we understand things about the heavens that we never understood before. Why? Because the needle has moved. The envelope has been pushed. That things like Einstein's theory of general relativity, basically, this was considered to be just like sacrosanct, but it's been proven by people like Niels Bohr and Schrodinger that there were flaws in that theory. Okay, and so the discovery of these flaws helped to move the needle and to advance the state of the art. There are things like, I think about the first television that I was exposed to was a black and white set. It was a big console thing, and it had a horrible picture. Looking back on it in retrospect, it had horrible sound. Now, you have like these big 80-inch flat screen TVs with surround sound, and it's all light years better than what we had before. Even radio, I mean, it's like the original radios were big sets and they had a horrible tuning and horrible reception and all of these things. And now you have radios that can lock on through quartz crystals with crystal clarity into a specific frequency, which has enabled the frequency band to be split up even further. It's amazing. I mean, technology, look at surgery. I mean, it's like in the dark ages, people were doing bloodletting and leeching, and now there's artificial intelligence and robotic surgery. There are people using endoscopy to perform surgeries that once required the human body to be opened up, like in a vivisection. All of these things, something happened that advanced the state of the art. Something happened that moved the needle everywhere but theology. Theology is the one branch of intellectual study that has not moved at all. I humbly submit to you that theology is the same today as it was in the Dark Ages. I don't think that it has moved a bit. And people will say, well, you have things like, you have the Word of Faith movement, and you have, the shepherding movement, and you have the grace movement, and all these movements that supposedly or allegedly advance the state of the art. But it's the funny thing is that when you open the hood and look under the hood of these things, basically it's the same old crap rehashed and regurgitated. There's a movie, I think it was Cars 2, where they were basically looking for these cars that were lemons. They were, and all of these cars, Yugos, AMC Pacers, and old Range Rovers, and all this stuff. And the thing is that under the hood, basically they were all junk. They were all junk, and they were fighting to preserve their existence. And that's what religion is. Religion is simply an old lemon. It's an old car that is being held together by baling wire, paper clips, and duct tape, and it is fighting for its survival. But listen, the thing is that just like the car analogy, in an old Yugo, you wouldn't buy an old Yugo for your kids to drive. Why? Because this thing is unsafe. It may fall apart at any given time. It couldn't withstand a crash. It's not really fuel efficient, even though it's supposed to be a small car with a small engine. All of these things, you wouldn't put your kids in that because it's crap. And yet, we continue to try to indoctrinate our children with this garbage of religion. It's absolutely insane. And the funny thing is that there are awesome, wonderful people out here who are pushing the envelope, who are moving the needle. It's almost like Quixotic, like Don Quixote, how people are trying hard to move the needle to try to advance the state of the art. And here's the funny thing, is that in all of the other intellectual disciplines, that when something comes to move the needle, when something comes to advance the state of the art, the community generally embraces it. The community of medicine, it embraces advances. The community of chemistry it embraces advances. Physics, nuclear power, and all of these things, atomic theory, all of these things, that when something comes that advances the state of the art, the intellectual community around it embraces it, except theology, except religion. This is the only spot, and I'm going to tell you, this is why. This is the reason why theology doesn't advance. Because, see, every other intellectual discipline that I've mentioned already exists for the betterment of humanity. It exists for the advancement of humanity, except religion and its codependent theology. They don't exist to help humanity. They exist for the express and specific purpose of controlling people. See, the thing is that when you start looking at the industrial age and the iron age, and you start looking at the age of the internal combustion engine and manufacturing, the assembly line, and then you start looking at advancements in medicine, and all of these things have increased the freedom of humanity, except theology. Theology doesn't exist to liberate people. It exists for the express and specific purpose of putting people in bondage. You gotta catch this. And this is the thing, this is what I think is funny about all of this, is that the people who cling to theology rail against people who are trying to expose the weaknesses in it. And the reason why they do it is because they know deep down in their hearts that theology is dying, that religion is dying. They know it. Because listen, half of the shit that religion teaches can't even withstand a good Google search. A good Google search will expose the fallacies and the flaws of theology and religion. That's simple. Just a simple query on a search engine in the cloud will expose religious bullshit with ease. And the people who cling to religion, they cling to theology, this is what their retort is. Well, you can't trust technology because that's of the devil. You see that? Listen, I'm going to say something, and this is a word that I normally don't use in our house. It's all this, we're a very expressive family, but the word stupid is a word that we don't use. But in this particular case, this stuff is stupid. It's just plain, it's moronic, it's idiotic. Now, let me say this, because people say, well, you're discounting Jesus. No, I'm not discounting Jesus. Let me tell you something. I love Jesus. I love everything that he represents, the real stuff that he represents. And that's another lesson for another time. But I love Jesus. But I am for the separation of Jesus and Christianity, or Jesus and religion, or the separation of Jesus and theology. Listen, this is a funny thing too. People will expend all this effort in studying and trying to understand theology, but won't even try to understand their fellow man. In other words, people are trying to come into this country to find a better life. Nobody's coming in here trying to destroy the country. That is such absolute bullshit, right? Nobody's coming to do that. people are coming looking for a better life. And if we were to study anthropology, that is the study of humanity and the human condition, that maybe we'll find why it is that people are doing that, and that we can, help them come into the country and do things that will empower them and better their lives, and do things they can possibly export back to their homelands to improve the condition, to improve the lot of their fellow citizens back there, thus taking the whole immigration paradigm and standing it on its ear. Because the thing is that if people's lives are improved where they are, they don't immigrate. Listen, this country was populated, especially with the Nordic people, people from Sweden and Norway and Finland, from Denmark. These people came over here looking for a better life. But guess what? Now, Sweden, Denmark, Norway, they have a better life than Americans do. And guess what? They don't immigrate. They don't immigrate because why? Their life in their homeland is better. Their conditions for thriving are better in their homeland. So there's no need to immigrate because somebody caught a vision of something of how to improve life where they were so that people don't have to leave. That is how you fix the immigration problem. You help people understand how to improve their lives, But watch this, and I'm going to say this. Listen, this country, what we do is we do things to destabilize other countries to make our position better. That's our diplomacy. Now, you can take that and, some people are going to hear that and they'll be mad. And honestly, I don't care. But the thing is that what we ought to do, instead of trying to study God, how about studying people and trying to figure out what it is that they need to survive and to thrive? And if you don't want people, quote unquote, coming in and staining your borders or whatever, then you need to be directly involved in how to improve the lots and the lives of the people from these countries whom you don't want coming into your country. Do you see how that works? See, so basically I'm for the elimination of theology. I really believe that any field of study that cannot survive and help sustain and help grow and help improve humanity deserves to die. And personally, y'all, theology, by that definition, deserves to die. Now, there are some people that I'm in kinship and fellowship with that they're a lot nicer than I am. They want to see theology get a good funeral, a nice open casket thing, where theology is displayed once and for all for everyone to pass and review and to say, well, it had a good run. Now it's over. Me, on the other hand, I take the Von Helsing approach. I want to drive a stake through its heart and lop off its head. That's what I want to do with religion. I have no desire to give religion a state funeral. Man, fuck that. I want to kill it outright, destroy it. And so because of my attitude, people get a little upset with me and they say, well, you're just lumping people into one category. But watch this, right? People want to cry foul when they are lumped into a particular category. But hell, man, I'm a black man. I could tell you stories about what it means to be lumped into a category. But let me veer away from that for just a second. That talking about lumping into a category, the Derek Days, the Kyle Butlers, the Henry Harrises, the Vanessa Brookses, the Lynn Bennett's, the Matt Marys and the Matt DiStefano and the John Weldys and the Jacob Wrights. And, people lump all of us into a category and they don't want to enlarge the tents for us to be in it because we pose a threat to the status quo. But when we say something, then they say, oh, well, you're being mean. You're lumping all of us into one category. But yet, you who cry foul are lumping us into the same category. You see how that works? You can't have it both ways. You absolutely can't have it both ways. And listen, I'm going to tell you, anything, I don't care what it is, that if it can't advance, if it can't grow, if it can't evolve, if it can't change, if it loses its elasticity or its pliability, then doggone it, it deserves to die. And that is where religion is. And that's where I am with religion. Doggone it, if you can't advance, if you can't move, if you can't, include some newer thinking or advanced thinking or something that's outside the box, if you can't include that into your thought paradigm, then basically you deserve to die. I'm not talking about people. Because somebody say, well, he's saying that Christians deserve to die. No, that's not what I'm saying. But I am saying that Christianity deserves to die. Yeah. Because here's the thing. Jesus did not come to start a religion. He did not start a religion. And for people, for humanity to have built a religion around him basically is a slap in the face. It's an insult to everything that Jesus was and is. To build this apparatus around him that exists expressly for the manipulation and control of humanity. So yes, I stand by what I said. Christianity ought to die, and it ought to die soon. And it doesn't deserve a state funeral or even a good funeral. I think that it should have a stake driven through its heart and have its head lopped off. That's what should happen to religion. Now, religious people, on the other hand, I love all humanity. I love everybody. There is not a single human being to me that is not created in the image and the likeness of God. So I love all of humanity. But the structures, the systems that have been put in place, and all of that, and let me tell you something. When you look at every single malady that faces humanity, every single problem that has reared its head in the history of humanity is either rooted and grounded in religion or has been exacerbated by religion. Every single one. Poverty, religion. Racism, religion. Sexism, religion. Misogyny, religion. Narcissism, religion. I don't care what it is. You pick a problem and every single one of them can be traced back to religion. So when I say that I want to see religion die, I mean it. Brothers and sisters, boys and girls, kids of all ages, I mean it. And so when it comes to have I gone too far? Or have you gone too far? I began that with a question, so now I'm going to give you the answer. Yes, you can go too far. Want to know how you can go too far? You go too far when what it is that you do hurts anyone. Now, I'm not talking about, the thing is people say, well, what you say about religion hurts me. No, that's butthurt. And butthurt is kind of like, I can't really think of the word right now. I haven't processed that. But butthurt, it don't count. Now, if it takes away from your livelihood, if it takes away from your peace, your security, if it takes away from any of that, then yes, you have been hurt. You've been injured. And no, it is not crying victim when you say that I've been hurt. There are people that have been legitimately hurt by religion. My inbox is full of stories of people who church and religion has wounded them. And thank God it wasn't mortally. Because some of this stuff is like suicide inducing. Some of this stuff is really, really horrible. But if you go too far, see, here's the thing. People say that Malcolm X died because he went too far. Or Martin Luther King died because he went too far. Or that Nikola Tesla died because he went too far. See, people will say that, right? But these people, what they were doing, they were helping humanity, not hurting it. But the people who are concerned with manipulation and control of humanity, it butthurt them. And so, butthurt will cause a quicker and more pointed reaction than actual physical injury does. Because see, sometimes when you're physically or emotionally hurt, you can't express yourself right now because your faculties have been impaired. But butthurt happens in crystal clarity. So listen, let me just say this and let me make it perfectly clear. I don't give a fuck about your butthurt. I don't care. If your butt hurt, too bad. Now, if you're really hurt, if I say something that impacts your income or it impacts your standard of living or it impacts something like that, then yes, you have a legitimate beef with me. But because you're butthurt, you don't have shit to say to me or anybody else that says it. And that's the truth. That is the truth. And I'm going to say this, that it is religion that has created the current climate in this country. If people who are quote unquote evangelicals, if they really were concerned about helping the least of them, we wouldn't be having a lot of the discussions that we're having in this country. But the reality is that they don't care about the least of them. Christ is far from their Christianity. And, a brother said to me, well, you can't just lump everybody into the same, no, I can't lump everybody in the same group. Like I said, I'll say this just to give you an analogy, that I believe that there are good law enforcement officers, that they are wonderful human beings, that they have it in their heart to serve their communities and to protect the people that they are serving. But I believe that all police departments by nature are racist. And so likewise, I think that there are some really good people within the framework of Christianity, but I think Christianity is corrupt. I think Christianity is just another flavor of religion, and it doesn't deserve to survive. Matter of fact, it should never have gotten this far. Now, that's pretty much what I have today. It's a little bit of a rant. I'm sorry. Well, I'm not sorry. Not really sorry for the, for the rant. I'm sorry if it, somehow this bothers you. But the thing is that I believe that when you talk about loving people and you talk about helping people and you talk about advancing the cause of humanity and you talk about liberating people and empowering people to live their best lives, there is no way that at any way, shape, form, or fashion that is going too far. As a matter of fact, I'll say this and I'm done. That when you go to help, you're not going too far. It's only when you hurt someone. Yeah, like Stalin went too far. Hitler went too far. Yeah, people like that, they went too far. King Leopold went too far. Those are people that went too far because they hurt millions of people. Caused millions of people to lose their lives. That's when you have gone too far. But when you talk about love and empowering people and giving people the tools that they need to be the best that they can be and to live their best lives, man, there's no way you can go too far on that. So I'm not going to give any shout outs right now in the broadcast itself. I'll go through all of the comments and I promise you that I will address each and every one of them individually. But I want y'all to know, I want every single person that's listening to this, whether I agree with you or not, that's unimportant. I love you. And that my mission is to make you think better of yourselves. What you think about me, I don't give a damn. So there you have it. Namaste, peace and hair grease. Until the next time, love y'all.